All right, let's talk about Curse 4, The Ultimate Sacrifice, also known as Catacombs. Fun fact, this movie actually released like considerably before Curse
Mm.
3.
Oh,
It might have honestly even came out before Curse 2.
so this was supposed to be the curse too,
No.
or three.
So this one came out like, so it wasn't released in America on like VHS until like 93. So that's why I got
Hmm.
the Curse 4 moniker.
Hmm.
But previous to that, it was a movie called Catacombs.
Mm.
It was released at um one of the not Sundance, the other one that I'm blanking on at the moment. The other big film festival.
South by South.
No,
No,
no, no,
is
no,
that even
older one.
something?
That is
I
something.
was like,
That's a
wait.
very big something. Cans.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I got that. It was in Japan as well. It was like released in like 1988 or yeah, I think 88 because it came out like 5 years later in America. So it was like a
Mm.
long time after.
Mm.
And the previous one was 1990, and I think Curse to the Bite was somewhere around this at least the same time ish.
Mm.
So it's funny that this one it took many years to get to America to then be renamed Curse 4. But that was pretty common, where they would just kind of take things and throw these titles on them to
Yeah.
sell them. And
Yeah, absolutely.
but my memory of this film was that I had seen it because I found a copy of it when I used to collect, and I always wanted to find the other ones, but I just never came across them. So I bought this in hopes that I would find 1, 2, and 3 on VHS back when I was collecting VHS, back when VHS was relevant. I don't collect it anymore because it's not a thing anymore, and people charge outrageous
They
prices.
do.
I used to get these for nothing
Oh,
when I was
sure.
collecting
Yeah.
them, when back when VHS was either still a thing or being phased out. When it was
Yeah.
being phased out, you could find literally any title for like $1 or less,
Yeah, sure.
25 cents.
Sure.
Half my collection that I have, probably 500 titles, I probably paid $1 or less for them.
Yeah, because it was like not so old to be nostalgic.
That was the same thing with like Nintendo games, Super
Yeah.
Nintendo games. You guys got to find that perfect window.
If
There's
you
that,
want to
like,
start
they're old
grabbing.
enough that people don't care anymore,
I feel like now
but
though,
like when they're really
I
old, people start caring again because of nostalgia.
yeah, I don't think that's actually the case anymore because I feel like people anticipate that. So they
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
things very fast and then the price markup happens really
Especially if it's
quickly.
like connected to any kind of
Yes,
franchise, or
yeah.
if it's Star Wars, or if it's some horror
Yeah,
franchise or some whatever,
absolutely.
then yeah, of course people are going to buy it up. Now
Yeah.
something like this, I feel like if I found this today, I can't imagine this is going for much. Nobody cares
I don't
about this one,
know.
but
Probably
who
not,
knows?
but
You probably might still be $30, $40 for all I
it
know.
doesn't feel like a cult classic film.
No.
So,
So Curse 4, yeah. So another thing that held up memory wise with this one, it is definitely the best of the sequels.
absolutely.
Sequels.
Yeah.
Um, but this one, this one more felt like um, it's got this kind of like, it's not a castle, but it's kind of got like that gothic kind of
It
feel to
definitely
it.
does. Hmm.
The other ones are so. This is definitely, if you want to consider this a franchise, this is definitely one of the most all over the place franchises ever.
Yeah, it really
Right?
is. The tone, the style, the like locations. This film is the one that is the most like the curse, like fitting, I feel, of the title.
The last one's absolutely a curse the
Oh,
whole
you're right.
time.
Yeah, that one is
Yeah.
too. But this one just is like
And
more.
so is the first one, kind
The
of.
first one, no. I stand by
And
what
the
I
second
said.
one's a curse. I mean, the guy gets bitten
No,
by a snake, and
no.
it's a
I think
curse.
one and two don't.
But 3 and 4 are
One and
definitely
two,
more
you have to make
curses.
it work. But
I
yeah,
don't know.
three and
One,
four.
I like the title because it's what he
I know.
thinks it
I
is.
know. I like that interpretation as well. But anyway, this one is This one I like the gothic tone. I thought this one was actually pretty cool.
To be fair, I mean, to the titles, it's just, there are some that just straight up like do not fit sometimes. And I'm like, where's the connection
How'd you get
here?
there?
And I feel like with every one of these, a curse is arguable, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, getting bit by a snake and turning into a snake feels like a freaking curse to me.
Mm-hmm.
Having your land poisoned, and your wife turning into like an oozy monster and stuff, this feels like a curse to me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the last two are all about curses.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cursed um, monastery. So we start like 400 years before. We got this Radu looking guy, um, and I honestly, the opening I quite liked. I thought that the villain was fairly intimidating and kind
Yeah,
of scary and
he's freaky
memorable.
looking.
Good performance there,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he actually felt like an imposing force.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm always like harping on these kinds of like possession movies over is that when somebody's possessed, they just don't possess
Yeah.
the level of power I would like them to, because we're supposed to be so intimidated by the threat level
Yeah.
of like, oh my god, these guys. When Reagan's in a bed the whole movie, it's like I don't fear she's taken over the world,
Right.
right?
Right.
As to where I feel like if this guy got loose, he would wreak some serious havoc.
Mm-hmm.
That also, counterpoint to that, unfortunately, though, is typically these movies with their writers, they're pretty lazy in the
Mm-hmm.
end, and they just are like, the power of Christ is in the mirror,
Yeah.
and it's like that's it. It's simple. It's stupid. It's like it's such a simple fix,
Yeah.
and it just so happens to be something that's in the room with him and is right there, readily available. And
Right.
I don't know. That's lazy ass shit. But up until that point, he does feel like a pretty sinister force that has some real power to him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a pretty scary presence and like look to him and everything. So I was into that. I mean, overall, I like the trope of like nuns or priests or whatever, like guarding some evil thing.
Yeah.
I think it works well enough for me. And I mean, like, it's cliche, but it works for me. I don't know.
And we saw some super similarities here.
Yeah, we were like feeling that this was very similar to the Nun 2 that just came out last year.
And the Nun one.
And the Nun 1. Yeah.
More
Oh,
than
yeah.
Nun one for me.
Oh, yeah, I guess,
But
yeah,
some of
yeah.
Nun two as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, yeah, I'm
But I
sorry.
want
I
to.
think it was mostly the Nun 1, but for the Nun 1,
I
for some
honestly feel
reason,
like so much so at points that I'm like, was this
the
in like
inspiration for
some
it.
like a mild
I
inspiration?
wouldn't be surprised. I think actually the only reason I was thinking about the Nun 2, and I even like debunked this for myself, but
Mm-hmm.
there's like a
The
segment
blind,
where they're
yeah.
talking about like yeah, what are they called? A saint? Was he a
Yeah.
saint or was he just a priest? Some guy, he's telling a story about a dude that goes blind
That was
from
a
like,
woman.
no, in this it was a man who went
No, I know, but in the Nun,
blind.
the real story is like a woman.
Yeah, but
Or,
there
sorry,
wasn't any
there's a correlation between these
there
stories.
isn't though, because
Yeah.
that's what I was like looking up, and was just the story was about this guy that goes blind in this movie, and it made me think of the Nun too, because it's all about like Saint Lucy, whose eyes are like chopped out, like taken out of her head when
Yeah.
she's martyred,
Yeah.
and her eyes become a relic.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking because of the eye thing, but they're very different stories. So I think you were right with what you initially said, that this is much more like the Nun 1.
Also, a little added correction here. It's not even a correction, but it's an addition to our last review. Because there'd be no other place to ever talk about this. I looked up Panga after we had done the review, which was the title of the previous film. Like this one's Catacombs, the last one's Panga. And the title made way more sense to me, seeing as how the panga is both a fish that looks just like the monster at the end of Panga,
Yeah.
and also is the name of a specific kind of machete that looks much like a billhook,
Hmm.
and is the machete that they use in the film. So
Yeah.
you've got two different pangas for the price of one, hence the title. So I just wanted to bring that up really quick, since why would I ever talk about the Curse 3 again in my life, other than in the Curse 4 review? Um,
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
the last two movies had some very attractive women, and I have to say, I think that this is probably the prettiest of all the
Mm.
girls in this franchise.
Mm.
Um, she was like, she actually made me look her up to see what else she was in, because I feel like she has a very modern look to
Yes,
her
she does.
face. Like a lot of like older actresses, and when I say older, I mean in older movies, they have a specific kind of like look to their
Yeah.
faces. There's some, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like we contour different
Well,
now
people have like
or
talked about how uh like there's like social like influencer pretty is like a thing now. Like you have a face that looks like it would be on social media.
mm,
And there's definitely like she's one who I feel like she has, like you said, a really modern face. Like I could see her on my phone or something scrolling.
yeah,
And
100%.
but it's always really interesting because there's definitely people that are born now that have very like retro looks to them. Like they would fit in perfectly in like the 1920s or like,
Yeah.
the 60s or something. And that's always really, I don't know, it's just
I just
interesting.
looked her up because I thought, she seemed like someone who could be like a leading lady of the 80s or 90s, that
Mm,
she had this like really really pretty look to her, that I was like, wow, she has kind of a, because unfortunately a lot of the times women are cast off their looks, and her acting was good,
mhm.
so much better than the last two movies, on the acting front. The main priest in this, that there's kind of like a little bit of a, like a hint at a romance there, but they never really go into it much.
Yeah.
She tries to seduce him while possessed, and he like fights it off
Mhm.
pretty easily. And um, but that actor, Timothy Van Patten, went on to be a very prominent director, mostly for television episodes, but
Mm.
like on all the big shows.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
he
That's really
he
cool.
did like a lot of like really like famous episodes, and a lot of like the really really popular
Mm.
television shows you've heard of. And also there's actually a very very sad and uber relatable scene in this movie that I
Mm.
was not expecting at all. And it's this old priest, and he's on his deathbed. He's in his, I think he's like 82, I think is
Yeah.
that's what he says. And he's literally like in, the throes of his demise.
Yeah.
And the main priest, our main guy here, he comes to chat with him, and he's like, oh, you want this or that? And he's like, no, I just want you to talk to me. And he's like, what do you want me to talk to you about? And he's like, sex. And he's like, what aspect of that conversation would you like to have? And he's like, you know um not doing it. And he goes into this story about this girl that he met when he was 16, and just how gorgeous she was, and how, what a wonderful creature she was, and how she basically was like offering herself to him, and he turned it down and has regretted it his whole life,
Mhm.
and he wishes he had sex, because in the end he didn't know if God was real, but
Yeah.
he knew for sure that that was,
Yeah.
and he now regrets not fucking.
Yeah.
And that just, man, that really was, that was sad. That was
Yeah, it was
like,
really sad.
because how many of these guys do that? That really do stick to that code of ethics, that don't fucking molest little boys or whatever.
Yeah.
Like ones that legit are like devout, and take their celibacy very seriously, and really don't do it. um I don't know. I felt like there's a good representation of the different kinds of priests.
Yeah,
There's like a real bitter one, and there's ones that are like
sure.
more like lighthearted,
Yeah.
And then you got this guy who's just like, I wish I fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, that was really sad. So, uh, but I'm glad that they included it because it's something that I think like you and I always talk about when we watch movies involving religious orders
Yeah,
where they do take a vow of celibacy because it's something that we both are like
so dumb.
so like against, like obviously people can do whatever they want, like if you like it's none of my business,
Sure, there's people who are like
but it's
asexual and have no interest in it.
right, right, like but it is sad to think that maybe some people like this guy, this fictional character, but like maybe real life people, do end up regretting it,
100% they
right?
do.
And it's kind of sad to think of people missing out on like such a key part of human like existence that want to have it, not somebody who's asexual who has no drive
Yeah.
for it, because then it's their choice not to do it and they're perfectly happy. But somebody who's
No, if
like
you're like
feeling it,
fighting it
like yeah, like
your whole
that's
life,
yeah,
oh my God, how terrible. What a terrible way to live. To just deny
yeah.
who you are and what you
But
want.
I mean that's also, that's the religious belief,
That's the
so it's like
martyrdom.
yeah.
It's bullshit. That part's bullshit. I don't have any problem with religious ideology if you think like, but why do some people get to fuck and others don't? Like everyone that you're around in your
Well,
church
yeah, because
gets to
they
fuck
get they
and
have
you
they
don't.
have a like a husband or a wife at the very
Why
least,
can't they get
right?
married?
Well,
That's insane.
because well, I don't know what the reason is actually for priests, but like I know that like nuns are supposed to be married to God, like they're brides for
But is
God,
God
like that's
coming
why
into their
they
room at night and fucking them?
I don't know.
Can they get like a Jesus dildo or something?
um
They should. I mean, come
I
on.
don't know. And
It's so
I
insane.
also don't know too, like if the like modern day nuns and priests, like if there's any difference, like if there's leeway where they're like you're allowed to like date or masturbate, or if it's still
Just
like that
yeah,
way.
don't get
Like
caught.
I don't know if it's the same, but I agree with what you said though about there being like a nice like variety of priests in this. I thought that was like it made it interesting. All of the characters felt interesting to me, so
If
I
there's
was
a if
into it.
there's a God and they're watching us, it must be the most insane shit ever. Just like, what the fuck are these guys doing? Why are they not fucking? What's wrong with them? I gave them this amazing ability to fuck, and they're not doing it for me. I didn't give you that ability
Yeah.
to not do it. That makes no sense. I'd be sitting there. I would be more upset with them. I wouldn't be like, oh wow,
Like time to bring
that
back the
that's
dinosaurs.
amazing.
At least they knew how to do it.
You're definitely going straight to heaven because you didn't fuck. I'd be like, no, bro, you missed out on heaven. I gave you heaven in your genitals, and you chose not to do it. So I don't get it. But yeah, so um, yeah, as far as like all the other things, I was always engaged. I was always entertained. Um, weirdly, I don't have a lot to discuss otherwise.
I don't either. It was just kind of like it's not like an amazing movie,
No,
but definitely I think a lot of it has to do with the last two that we
they're
watched.
so bad.
This one feels like such a big leap in a lot of ways, but I mean, there was some cool like imagery stuff. Like there's a Jesus that comes to
Oh
life,
yeah,
like a wax Jesus sculpture.
that's cool.
That was pretty cool. There's like a like the demon guy that's in like in this. We see like the skull like skeleton version of him,
Hmm.
which I thought was cool. And there's definitely
I like
like
the guy getting buried alive.
yeah, I
I
was
thought
just
that
gonna
was a
say
cool
there's
scene.
that.
Hmm.
Um, so that's cool. Like it was fine. It has a pretty like 90s
Aesthetic.
aesthetic for like a dark fantasy kind of thing,
Yeah,
which I like.
yeah. So I would say curse 1, 4, 2, 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That's definitely the order.
yeah. So if
Watch
you're
like 2 and 4 would be the only ones that you really should watch. I think you
one
can.
and four,
Yeah, 1 and 4. Sorry,
yeah, sorry.
not 2. or 3. You can just skip
I don't
those.
know, man. There's some really
Okay,
kick-ass
some
special effects in 2.
cool effects, but like we said, you could also just watch the effects. Like go look up.
3 had some great tits. There was something
Yeah, but
noteworthy in all of them.
it's not.
I didn't hate watching any of them.
We had a good time with these.
Yeah.
I did have fun watching them, and it was very interesting because they're so not related. So yeah, I don't even know if you can call it a franchise, but yeah, that's our ranking: 1, 4, 2, 3.
Yes. So okay, next time we're gonna tackle a new franchise. I'm gonna pull. We actually were gonna try to do the Carnosaur ones, but we couldn't
We
even get through the
couldn't.
first like 20 minutes of
We
the first
couldn't.
one.
We couldn't
It
do it.
was so bad. It
Yeah,
was so bad. It
we're
was
not gonna watch
crazy.
Carnosaur.
There's 3 of them, and I was really excited about watching because I'd always wanted to. And honestly, I'll tell you this: if it wasn't for Kaylee, I'd probably do it, and maybe I still will. But right now, I'm watching X-Men the animated series for the '97 reboot that's coming out next month that I'm super excited for. So and then I'm playing the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, getting ready for Spider-Man 2, which just came out. So that's really taking all my time currently
I'm
when I'm not with her.
working and
Or yeah, when I'm not
watching
with her.
Adventure Time.
Yeah. And then when we are together, we're trying to watch it she wants to watch, and then the other times I'm with the kids and we have to watch what they have to watch. It's always about management. So there you go. Curse for the final sacrifice. Or the ultimate sacrifice. Oh, it's the ultimate sacrifice. Shit. I was gonna say this is the only franchise that says the final and actually stuck to it.
Nope, just ultimate.
The ultimate aim.
It's kind of final.
What is the ultimate sacrifice? What do you
priest?
what do you ultimately
The priest
sacrifice?
that
The sex?
sacrifices.
That is the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
You're right. The curse never rests.
Yeah.
Neither does his sex drive. Yeah, you're right. But what is the ultimate sacrifice? I mean, outside of that, I agree with you. It is the sex. But what is the ultimate sacrifice in this?
It's isn't it
The main girl? She gets possessed. Who's it?
no,
What?
the other priest, the young one.
What about him? He has to sacrifice him, so he doesn't though. What's the ultimate sacrifice?
I don't know. You're asking a hard
I don't
question.
know if the
I can't
I
answer
don't know
it.
if the title makes any sense.
It doesn't. Probably not.
I'd have to go
I was
back
trying
and
to remember
rewatch
how it
it.
ended because I was getting tired at the end.
He uses the
And I
mirror,
thought
but
that
she's like
he
trying to. I don't remember. I didn't sleep yesterday at all, so I'm up like fucking 30 some odd hours currently. I'm surprised I can even speak English. Am I properly speaking right now? I wouldn't be surprised
No,
if
I'm just kidding. You've been
I was
great.
slurring my words and falling asleep on while we're doing this. I could still do this better than most of y'all, even without any sleep. So fuck it, I'm good. All right, curse. That's it. We're done. Have sex. Bye.
Bye.